Greetings. Father Joe here, your friendly neighborhood pastor, coming to you from St. Patrick's Church in lovely Highland Mills, New York. Today we have the memorial of Saints John de Brébeuf and Isaac Jogues and their companion martyrs. They're referred to as the North American martyrs. Yesterday in our reading for the Feast of St. Luke, we read about St. Paul and his sufferings and his frustrations and his being isolated. And today, our martyrs, we had people who suffered greatly, people who were taken prisoner, who were tortured. They were isolated. And they went in knowing this, and even when they were released, they went back to continue the message. And so I just thought maybe our reading today, our first reading from St. Paul's letter to the Romans, it starts in chapter 5, but it starts in verse 12. And so I thought maybe if we look just a little bit earlier in St. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 5, in chapter 5, St. Paul says that we have been justified by faith, and so we have peace with God through Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith to the grace in which we stand, and he says, and we boast in hope of the glory of God. But then this next part is why I want to read this. So we're boasting in hope of the glory of God, but then St. Paul says, not only that, but we boast of our afflictions, knowing that affliction produces endurance, and endurance proven character, and proven character hope, and that hope does not disappoint. So I would never think of boasting of my afflictions, at least not when I'm in them. Nobody wants to suffer. Nobody wants to be afflicted. And yet, when God calls us to go out and to do something, or to go out and to be a witness to people, it may involve suffering. Not always, but it very well may involve suffering. Maybe not torture and death, but maybe we're being ostracized. Maybe people will turn away from us. Maybe we're going to be all alone. Maybe we may suffer consequences. And in that, it is good to remember that people before us, saints before us, have been able to boast of their afflictions. Because when they boast, and I don't mean like pride boasting, but saying, wow, look at this. Look at what God is doing here. It produces endurance. In other words, we develop an ability to endure more suffering. And that endurance, that increases our character, our proven character. This becomes who we are. And when that continues to grow, then we receive hope. And that hope, again, what St. Paul said up in verse 3, that hope is of the glory of God. And that hope does not disappoint. So, again, I don't want to sound like I'm only talking about suffering, but yesterday we discussed this also. There are going to be times when you're going to be afflicted, or when you're going to feel afflicted. And we need to remember that God doesn't want this in and of itself, but he allows it so that we can grow, so that we can be more like Jesus. And when we do that, we don't run away from suffering. We accept necessary suffering, and we accept God's will even when it includes suffering. But we do that because we have the hope of heaven. God bless you.